Welcome back to another one on Chuck D Football TV. Back with another one on Chuck D Football TV. This is a pre-match analysis on the Arsenal versus Chelsea game that will be taking place today at 4:30 p.m. This there's so much I can say about this game, right? This game is very significant. It is hugely significant to both teams. It is hugely significant to Arsenal and it's hugely significant to Chelsea. Why is it significant to Arsenal to win this game? It is very significant to Arsenal to win this game because Arsenal are chasing the league title. And as it stands now, Arsenal are only 2 points ahead of Manchester City, who beat Leeds 1-0 yesterday with a goal from Semenyo. This game is hugely significant because Arsenal has to win. Arsenal has to win this game, at least to give them breathing space. At least to give them breathing space. Because if Arsenal loses this game, um, it's going to be a huge dent in their title pursuit. Because the way it's looking now, and I've said it, if you go watch my previous videos, I've said something about Manchester City, right? They get into this type of stints where they win at the penultimate part of the season. They have the ability, they have the squad, they have the know-how, they have the coach to go on and win every single game for the rest of the season. And I think so far it's like 10, maybe like about 11, 10 or 11 games, if not even less, to the end of the season. So the City Sharks are really on Arsenal's bum, like they're really on Arsenal's ass at the moment. Arsenal cannot afford to drop points. Now, why is the game hugely significant for Chelsea? It is hugely significant for Chelsea because Chelsea are trying to make it into Europe. They're trying to make it into the Champions League for next season. So it is hugely important for them as well. And it's also important for both teams because this is a London derby. This is a London derby. Now, we know that in in previous games between Arsenal and Chelsea, Arsenal have beaten them, right? Arsenal have beaten Chelsea in their last like five games. Arsenal have dominated them. Now let me call it out, right? So the last time they played was in the League Cup on the 3rd of February. Arsenal won that game 1-0. Um, they also played they played the 14th of January 2026. Arsenal beat them 3-2. They played the 30th of November 2025. They drew that game 1-1. They played on the 16th of March 2025. Arsenal beat them 1-0. They played on the 10th of November 2024. Arsenal won that. They drew that game 1-1. They played on the 23rd of April 2024. Arsenal beat them 5-0. So and so on and so forth. When you look back, Arsenal have really been the dominant side. Arsenal have really been the dominant side when you look in the past score line and results. However, yesterday's goals does not win today's matches. You have to play for today. So, albeit yes, Arsenal have beaten them, just previously beat them in the League Cup and blah blah blah, dominated. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. And if and something about Chelsea is that they might not be the individually, they might not be like world class per se. They might not be world class when you pick their players individually. They might not be world class, but there's just something about that team when they come together and play in unison. Those That team can move mountains. It's very weird, but there are certain games that I did not expect Chelsea to win, that they not only won but dominated. For example, the game against PSG, they killed PSG, they destroyed PSG, they stepped on PSG's neck in the Club World Cup final. The game against Barcelona, I thought it was going to be Barcelona was going to do this and this. Barcelona couldn't do anything. They destroyed Barcelona 3-0. So all I'm just saying that to say that you cannot sleep on this Chelsea team. Yes, there will be very important, certain important players will be out. I know Cucurella, Cucurella, who is arguably the best at his position in the world, will be out for this game. But that does not mean that they are not liable to come out with a result. Now, going to Arsenal, we know that Arsenal is the, if not, yes, Arsenal is the strongest team in Europe right now. They are tipped to win the Premier League. They are tipped to win the FA Cup. They are tipped to win the EFL Cup. They are tipped to win the Champions League, right? Arsenal is the only team in the world right now that is tipped to win the quadruple. And we haven't been able to say this about Arsenal for years. For years. And when I say years, it's more than 20 years. And Arsenal compared to every other team, one of the big things about Arsenal was that, oh, they lacked a striker. Then it was that they did not have a strong bench. They didn't have a lot of bodies that that could be brought in to change the game. And now it has changed because Arsenal has a striker. Arsenal has actually two real strikers in Gabriel Jesus and Viktor Gyökeres, but they also have guys like Havertz that can play that strike position, Merino that can play that strike position. So they have guys that can play that position, and also they have a very strong bench. So I don't. So there's no excuse for Arsenal not winning at least two trophies this season. Now, if you watch my previous videos, I've always said that Arsenal not winning the Premier League this season will rattle the fan base for a lot of reasons, and that's one of the reasons because Arsenal have, imagine, leading the table to this very point, and now end up not winning the league, and the only thing that'll be able to pacify the fans if Arsenal don't win the league this season is winning the Champions League. Any other thing, whether you win, Arsenal wins the EFL Cup and they win the FA Cup, it's not going to be enough for the fans. For some fans, it probably will be because they will say that, okay, at least we won two trophies, we haven't won anything since. But for the real Arsenal faithfuls like me, it's not going to, winning the EFL Cup and winning the FA Cup. It's not going to cut it. It is not going to cut it. Do you understand that? Like, Arsenal haven't been in a better position to win the Premier League and to win the Champions League like this season, like this season. So, like I said, it would be a disaster if Arsenal um drops points today or lose, drops points in a draw or lose the game against Chelsea. That means I think City will be ahead of Arsenal. And that is a very, very scary thing because if Arsenal bottles this league, hmm, if Arsenal bottles this league, what is even worrying and daunting to me is not just the psychological effect, it's the insult from every other fan base. Because every other fan base are shameless. Every other fan base, they just want to see Arsenal win. Arsenal lose. I mean, there's this hatred a lot of fan base have for Arsenal, and the only way Arsenal can brag is to win. Is to win, And if Arsenal wins this today's game, it gives them an extra, it gives them an extra leeway. It gives them they get back 5 points ahead of City, and the the pressure is back on City to win their next game. Now it's pressure for pressure. It's pressure for pressure. I don't want to. I don't want to really think about those games that Arsenal could have won. For example, against Wolves. How are you drawing against Wolves while you are leading 2-0? You're leading 2-0 and drawing against Wolves, and losing against Manchester United and some other games. Arsenal dropped points here and there. That is the reason why Arsenal is where they are now, panicking. So this game is a very, very important game for both clubs. Aside from the fact that it's a game of pride, it's a London derby, a big London derby, North versus West. Aside from that, it's Chelsea are, they're campaigning to make it to Europe next season, and Arsenal are going for the league. So it's a very, very important game today. Very, very important game today for both teams. So um, we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see how things go. Um, Left to me, I'll say that Arsenal is going to win the game. I say Arsenal is going to win the game 3-0. That's my score prediction for the game. Arsenal is going to win the game 3-0. Um, my my predicted 11 for Arsenal will be Raya in goal. Um, Gabriel's what's his name? Gabriel and Saliba center backs. Um, left left back would be Timber. Right back will be Hinkapie. Then the three midfield: Rice, Zubimendi, and I think Eze. I think Eze will start this game. Then going forward, it will be Saka, Gyökeres, and Trossard. That's my predicted 11 for Arsenal. So I'll say it again: Raya in goal, Gabriel and Saliba centre back, Timber in right back, and left back in Kapie. Three-man midfield: Rice, what's his name? Rice, Zubimendi, and Eze. And front three: Gyökeres, Bukayo Saka, and Trossard. Now for Chelsea, I think theirs will be obviously Sanchez, um, Rhys James in left back, Rhys James in right back. Sorry, um, Chaluba and Fofana in centre back, and hmm, Kukureya is supposedly going to be out, so um, Hato, I think he'll play Hato in the left back. Um, then their midfield will be Caicedo, um, Cole Palmer, and Caicedo, Cole Palmer, and hmm, Caicedo, Santos, and Santos in their midfield. Caicedo, Cole Palmer, and Santos. Then going forward, I think it's going to be Joao Pedro, Pedro Neto, and the young Brazilian boy. You guys know who I'm talking about. Or actually, I think it will be Joao Pedro, Ganacho, and Pedro Neto. That's what I think they're going to go for. Joao Pedro, Ganacho, and Pedro Neto. I think that's going to be their front three. So that's my predicted lineup. My predicted scoreline is 3-0 to Arsenal, in a convincing win. And yeah, let me know what your score prediction is in the comment section below. Please like the video. Please like the video, so that I can go out to more people. Subscribe to the channel and all that good stuff. And until next time, I'll do a post game reaction on the match for us to discuss the things that happened. And yeah, until next time, thanks for watching. Peace.